I love your approach, which is why I'm going to drop this here right now. I have asked Laurel to be our in-house cosmic update astrologer, just cosmic coach. So just, get familiar with her. I'm going to drop all of her info in the show links, but she is going to have repeat appearances monthly. And she's going to just, give us a heads up on how we can work with the energies, how we can work with what's happening. And we don't necessarily have to guess because we're part of this like ecosystem, the universe. And if you don't believe in a higher power, a higher being, how are you even breathing? How is your body and the cells doing what it does just without you having to interfere?
100%. One of my favorite ways that I've ever heard, there are a lot of words for this big concept we're talking about right now. It's the universal consciousness. I like to refer to it as it's source, it's God, it's divine this, divine that. I think Joe Dispenza said it really well when he said that it is the innate intelligence. Like that's how our bodies know how to do what they do. That's how like this earth is even functioning because it's a miracle. I mean, if you stop and you just take a beat and you like look outside at trees, you're like, this exists. Like, can you believe that this exists here? Like, what are the odds, the miracle that there is life here? And so to me, it's some kind of divine intelligence. And I really feel like astrology is a language for understanding and interpreting the storylines of this innate intelligence. And when we use astrology practically, which I'm the biggest advocate of practical astrology, like I'm a pretty woo-woo person myself, but there is something very like rational, reasonable, logical that we can use and apply this to our lives, whether or not we understand exactly how does Pluto influence us from a like mechanical, technical level of it, like irrelevant to me. There's information in the patterns. There's information in the data. And when we learn how to suss out and sort through and decipher what the messages are in our lived experiences, that's when the real magic happens. Because I think a lot of people get hung up on this idea of fate versus free will. And I get it, right? Like that's a big topic. That's a big question. And when I run into, which I honestly am so happy to say I really don't run into astro naysayers nearly as much as I used to. When I was first learning, there were a lot of people who were very eager to cut me down in my pursuit because they didn't believe it was valuable. They thought it was fake. They thought it was stupid. And I'd be sitting there with my Aquarius moon and they'd be telling me how dumb I was for like wasting my time in astrology. And I'm like, you don't even understand the level of actual intelligence it takes to hold 10 different planets across 12 different signs, across 12 different houses, with 6 potentially different aspects going on all at once, and distill a digestible piece of information to somebody else from that. Now, it doesn't have to be all that complicated. That's why we work with professional astrologers who can do all the computing for us. But one of the big arguments people would pull out on me was like, well, what about free will? There's no autonomy. And it's like, no, honey, listen. Honey, Linda, listen to me. There is so much free will in astrology. Again, going back to this idea of the source coding, that astrology just represents kind of like what the characters will do when left to their own devices. They'll just follow their map, essentially. We get to kind of take the reins and take control and make our own choices and movements within the landscape of the energy we find ourselves in. It's like we use our free will to determine how are we going to show up to this energy? How are we going to show up to our thoughts? How are we going to show up to our experiences? How are we going to show up to our relationships, to our feelings, to our perceptions, all of it? Like that is in our wheelhouse. We have the freedom to choose. How am I going to think about what is going on right now? And we use that within the greater source coding that astrology provides. It's like we get these different energetic bubbles that we find ourselves in. And then it's up to us to be like, okay, something tough is going on. Do I want to sit here and shame myself? Do I want to sit here and guilt myself? Do I want to sit here and succumb to my own like shortcomings here, the ones that I am in control of? Or do I want to dig deeper? Do I want to understand the nuances of what's really going on here? Do I want to see if there's an opportunity or a lesson, even if it's a tough one, inside of this bubble we might find ourselves in? And that is us enacting our free will. Thus, we have a little more say, almost. It's not like quite say, but we have a little more autonomy in the way we're going to experience the energy. Because one of the biggest tenets of astrology is as within, so without. The whole statement is actually as above, so below, as within, so without. Everything that we experience on the external level is a mirror back to how well adjusted, integrated, assimilated we are with the energy that's happening within us, And I think that that's a really beautiful and powerful framework, not just for astrology and how to use it, but like for so many different aspects of our lives. And sometimes it's a bummer because sometimes like you might look outside your life and be like, I'm going through a divorce. I'm a single mom. This is hard. This is really fucking hard. Don't tell me, Laurel, that this is a reflection of me inside, that these circumstances are because I haven't dealt with something within. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow. And I'm not victim blaming or anything like that. I don't want it to sound like that, but it is this opportunity when we have these external challenges to recognize that there's an internal challenge that is seeking resolution. And it is through the vehicle that we experience the external reality that we are also able to repair, heal, purify, cleanse, evolve our internal reality. And then once we start to do that work, it's kind of wild how quickly the external will start to reflect the growth.
I love everything that you said. It's so true. It's so insightful. And for myself and even our listeners who believe and have worked with astrology, astrologers, that it is truly a part of life. And so you can either learn to leverage it to your advantage, which is to work with it, or you can be those people who thought Laurel was crazy. But in fact, consciousness is shifting and the veil is thinning, which is why even, like in our movies today, they are like now introducing concepts like the metaverse and, parallel realities, because astrophysicists, physics, it now is seeing that because energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transmuted, then there are different lifetimes, not lifetimes, but like lifelines that you can tap into because it's all there. And so I love the It Gets Better From Here podcast because we talk about so many things. We talk about the real stuff in real life. We also talk about like the divine intelligence, spirituality, spiritual wisdom, because that is truly where we came from and we evolved. We can't possibly be so arrogant to think that, we're just being human beings here. And yeah, we're making all this shit happen. Really? Have you taken a look at the ancient Sumerian texts? Have you taken a look at the natural wonders of the world? How the hell did they, build what they built way back in the day with no tools? And the systems are perfect, like the pyramids and like the crazy things that's inside the mazes and like just the preservation of the mummies and just. I mean, come on, guys, please. This is why, I challenge you to think outside of the box, think outside of the programming, think for yourself, because it's time to wake up.